Alright, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Today is the 22nd of January. So we'll continue our class with two more chapters for today, chapter 9 and chapter 10. Alright, so in chapter 9, we are going to talk about protection. Alright, protection. So what we have done so far in the previous chapter is we have highlighted about innovation. We have highlighted how you are going to do innovation, what types of innovation is possible with your organization, how much budget should you be including in your innovation project for your department or company. So in this chapter, we are going to look at how to protect your innovation. What we are going to argue is when your company department has already come up with a specific innovation, how is your organization company going to protect it and at the same time get the benefits out of your innovation. Okay, maybe another company would use your innovation for something, so how can you get some profit, how can you make money out of those innovation that your organization has created. Let us look at a few cases in Malaysia, quite famous ones. I've picked out three of the most famous cases that has happened in Malaysia. How point number one, I'm sure the ladies would know this, how Bokita wins patent infringement lawsuit, whereby the actual producer of the tudung Bokita, which was somewhere in the Middle East, if I'm not mistaken, claim that the claim that Bokita Malaysia has taken their product, which was given. Yes, they gave the Malaysian company had got permission from the overseas Bokita to use this particular tudung for their sales, but the Malaysian company claimed that they were the first one uh, to come out with Bokita sarong, okay, just to sarong on your tudung. So this claim was not part of this claim was not part of the agreement. The agreement only states that you can use our product to sell. That means you are considered an agent, but not more than that. You cannot claim anything. You cannot claim that this is yours. This product was invented by you. No. So the Bokita Malaysia said that they were the first one to come up with or to bring this kind of tudung yang jadi sarung lah. So the overseas company filed a lawsuit against them and won, claiming that they were the ones, or these kind of tudungs were already in place when they created this. Okay. Another case in Malaysia happened is from how this company, Alliance Pacific Motor and Honda in Japan, how the Honda company sued the Malaysian company, claiming that their motorbike produced in Malaysia was similar to what they produced in Japan, and the Malaysian company did not. Malaysian company did not get any permission from them. Simply just copied their design and structure. So because of that, the Malaysian company had to stop sales and were not able to sell this type of motorcycle anymore. And then we also have another case whereby there was a Malaysian restaurant called Mac Curry, somewhere in Singapore, in KL. They use the short form as MC Curry. Okay, MC Curry. Uh, but the word M, the alphabet M, capital M and C, belong to McDonald's. So McDonald's actually sued the restaurant for claims that they have used um, the word MC, and MC actually belongs to McDonald's. Okay, and uh, this type of what you say, this claim and this restaurant could lead customers thinking that MC Curry belongs to McDonald's, whereby MC Curry belongs to a different company by themselves. So these were some cases in Malaysia. All right. So why do you have this? Why did I present these cases to you? Is because this is to show that if you do not properly protect your innovation, you will have cases like this, and these cases can be very severe to your organization. Okay, so these are some examples of how people can just simply take your product, your name, your trademark, your logo, in benefiting them. All right. So we have other big cases in around the world, whereby we have something from Napster, where it allowed free peer-to-peer, peer-to-peer software program that allowed easily to easily for people to share their peer-to-peer software. Initially, it was allowed. That means if I have a software and I'm willing to share it with someone, I can just go on Napster and I can share it, and someone around the world can simply share it. But the problem is this kind of sharing, although it's beneficial for the users, but it's against the policy of it's not against the policy. It was the company making the software will have the loss. It's simply like if you own a phone, okay, if you own a phone, you are able to share your phone for maybe for free. That means and the next person need not buy the phone. Okay, he can just share it from another person. Okay, whenever he needs it. So this type of sharing method, peer-to-peer sharing method, caused a big havoc, and companies were now left, their sales went down simply because Napster allowed this to happen, even though by law it is okay, because what you do with your product is up to you. It's like, if you buy a car, okay, you buy a car, what you do with your car, as long as it's not against the law, it's up to you. So okay, so at that time, sharing is allowed. So this was a big case. So they were able to stop this from happening, and later Napster was closed down. And then you have things like Apple open iTunes. Okay, so again, people were not were earning profits from revenues of MP3 and so on and so forth. All right, so this causes, when you have your innovation not secure or secured, so you are talking about copyright issues. So what industry conditions led to the revolution in audio distribution? Which stakeholders stand to benefit the most or the least from this revolution? Okay, so what it's trying to say is, in example, if we take the audio distribution, we have MP3, MP4, which stakeholder would get the most? That means, or the least. That means, siapa yang paling untung? Who will get the most? Obviously, the most beneficial person would be the company. Oh, sorry, the user, the final user, because he or she will get the most out of the audio distribution lah in this category. So, what we are trying to say in this chapter as we go along, whatever innovation that is derived from your organization, company, department needs to have proper documentation about its copyright, about its patent, and so on and so forth. Simply because they might be a use for this kind of for this innovation, either for good or bad. If it's for the good, it's okay. If it's for the bad, now that's also an issue as well. Okay, there were questions. For example, when Sony came out with DVD makers, that means people were able to do DVDs at home, were able to record music, were able to do movies at home, and the companies sued Sony because Sony came up with this kind of hardware. What Sony claimed is, what the customer does with the DVD player or DVD maker, it's not up to Sony, because it's the company which, I mean, is the user which does it. Okay, so what you do with your phone or with whatever you buy, it's not the fault of Samsung, or it's not the fault of Apple. But what you do with it, it is totally belongs to it. It's totally on your side. Okay, so why am I telling you this? This should be cleared out in the copyright issues or uh, copyright information in the patent that you are going to apply for. Okay, so again, firms must decide whether and how to protect their technology innovation. Okay, so you must decide. Protection innovation helps a firm retain control over and appropriate the rents from it. So you must get something out of it. Okay. However, sometimes not protecting a technology is to a firm's advantage. It may encourage others to support the technology and increase the likelihood of becoming dominant. Okay, so there's also another thing, because you do not protect it, so people will keep on using that, the only software which is that, and your likelihood you'll become the dominant. That means everyone will use your baseline, okay, your baseline product to do something else. You support. That means whatever you do, you have to buy that first. And then whatever you do, you put the line. Okay, whatever you do, you still have to buy that product. And what you do on is that, for example, like when they do mobile apps, okay, when they do mobile apps, everyone has to do it on the Android platform, because so Android is the software itself is free, but what you do with that is everything else. Okay, what you do with that is something else. So Android is the dominant product, because you have to get this what you say, Android, and then you can do, and then you can build your own softwares, right? So the next top point that we need to highlight is appropriability, the degree to which a firm is able to capture the rents from the innovation. Okay, that means you have the innovation, your company has the innovation. How are you going to benefit from that? Okay, so you can either benefit through patents, you can benefit from trademarks, copyright, or trade secrets. So this is how you benefit from that. Okay, so again, appropriability means how you can benefit or how you can get something out of that. You want to use, can, but you must pay. For example, let's say we take Mickey Mouse for example. Okay, Mickey Mouse. So anyone who uses Mickey Mouse on their T-shirt, on their logo, even though for hari like hari keluarga or so on, they have to pay something, a royalty to the Mickey Mouse for not Mickey Mouse people, for to Disney. Okay, there is something. Even let's say you have in the hotels, okay, when they have karaoke sessions, okay, so the songs that they produce, even though the singer is not there, even though it's merely for entertainment, they have to pay a small amount of royalty to the singer as well. Okay, so things like this. Okay, so patents can come from normally we register patents through the government, which excludes other of producing, using, or selling. That means it gives you exclusive rights. Only you or your company have the exclusive right to produce, use, or sell. I mean, no one else can use this. And in order to get a patent, the government will decide if it's useful, novel, and not to be obvious. That means it's a useful product. Everyone is going to use it, even though we are talking about design, utility, plan, anything. That means it's unique, novel, and it's not too obvious. That means it's not obvious. That means it's not too big, not too small, lah. Okay, so those are what we say as patents. Okay, so there are a few types of patent laws around the world. So each of them have their own type of what you say, period, whether it's patent for how many years, and can it be extended, and who can use this patent, or let's say you want to use this logo, what do you have to do, or where is it done? Some patents are only applicable to a country. That means from here Let's say you patent your document here or your logo here in Malaysia, but you can use the same thing somewhere else for free and so on, things like that. Okay. Around the world, if we look at patent, trademarks, and copyrights, we have, I think this is not, what is it? This is not surprise that China has a lot of patent applications in the year 2015, 2016, and then they are also leading in a number of patents. But in Malaysia, the top two patent filters in the year 2020, number of ini based on application lah. We have what 58 from EMOS, Top Glove, UTM, Petronas. So these are the top Malaysian company, Malaysians who sought or who applied for patents in the year 2020. So as you can see, we also applied. What does this figure actually show? This figure actually shows that we have novel products that can be patented. Okay, when you apply for your patent, that means your innovation is something new, something novel, and it has not been done by anywhere else, or it's just an upgrade. Even though sometimes it's just an upgrade, it can be considered. It can be considered as something new, something novel. Probably it's because it's focusing on a new set of technology. It's a new set of a new set of users. So things like this. So it can also mean it can also go for patenting. Okay, so there are also a term which is called patent trolling. Okay, patent trolling is someone or some firm who creates that product, but they did not go for patenting. Okay, don't talk about patent, but they are the creators of this. Okay, so when another person uses this, although it is allowed, but they have it's the original inventor's copyright. Okay, so it's like this: if you create a mobile phone, you patent it, that means anyone using this, anyone taking the same architecture, you get a rental. Okay, or you sing a song or any design. Let's say you draw a comic, you patent it to anyone using your comic, will get some sort of you will get some sort of royalty. Okay, but let's say you do not go for patent, then anyone can just use your patent. Anyone can just use your design, correct? But if they claim to, if the actual designer claims that, hey, this design belongs to me, so they can claim something from you, and if they have the proper proof, they can actually claim from you. So this is happening a lot around the world, especially in the US from Apple, which is called patent trolling. That means they wait for another company, another person to use it, and then they put a case on them. Are you all with me? Okay, can you all hear me loud and clear?
Yes, betul.
Yes, betul.
Yes, betul.
All right. So
Yes,
there's
yes.
also other, what do you say, other copyright issues, copyright cases, patent trolling cases of how things happen, and then okay, and yep, this has been reported around the world, and normally it comes from Nortel, Microsoft. These are all cases. All right. Next, you also have trademarks, service marks. Okay, trademarks are, for example, if like you have service marks, you have Nike, the word whoosh itself, the word that itself is a service mark of Nike. It's a trademark. Okay, so you have all the words coming out. Let's say McDonald's, your word. and then you have all the catchy words coming out from a product. So that is can be your trademark or can also be your service mark. Okay, so why are we talking about this? Let's just stop for a while and think. Why are we talking about innovation? Okay, and we're talking about patents, trademarks, service marks, and all this. Okay, you have to understand because your company, your department, your organization has come up with the innovation, and this innovation needs to obviously get some sort of income back. So if you do not you do not apply for a patent, right, or a trademark, then people might just use your product and gain the most out of it. Okay, so you have to understand is what you have to understand is why do you do patenting is because to protect your product. You protect your product. It does not mean yes, okay, you come up with a logo. Yes, a logo can also mean you patented it, but sometimes it's more than that. It's more like an innovation, a system. So you need to patent that as well. Okay. Next, we also go to copyright. Copyright comes in the form of, let's say, music, lyrics. Okay, documents. These are copyright issues. Okay, so we have certain law to protect copyright, so that's also applicable. All right. So these are certain cases I looked up in Malaysia. So I think this is quite recent. I think you pernah dengar cases ni. Copyright in Malaysia. A company located in ICT in Section 7 Shah Alam was caught or was summoned because it sold technology or a device for the purpose of bypassing the technological protection measures referred in subsection blah 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 blah. So the company on September 2nd, 2020 at about 4:55 is accused of attempting to sell a television device better known as Android box with the brand name of Long TV in Shah Alam, which contains copyrighted content for uncensored broadcasts. The company based in ICT Shah Alam is the first to be charged in the court for the offence of promoting hardware and software that bypass technology protection measures against copyrighted broadcast work. So if you were to read this case, what this company was selling was a product called Long TV, which had Astro channels inside. So when you go back, Astro channels are copyrighted. That means you need to subscribe to it. Only then you can watch it. But this Android box, which was sold by this company, could bypass this. That means you just buy this one-off price, and you can watch all the Astro channels for free. All right. So this company was fined. I think was fined. The person who sold it was fined for a certain amount because of selling an Android box which contain a copyright content. Okay, a copyright content. It's something like this. Let's say kalau dulu we copy music and then we do our own CD and we sell it. That is wrong. So pirated CDs are actually in a copyright issue because the movie or the music itself is copyrighted to that person or to that company. So now you cannot do this, okay? You cannot because this is a copyright. So this is one of the big cases in Malaysia. Okay. So next you have trade secrets. So trade secret, yes, question.
Okay, Doctor.
Yep.
About the copyright lah. So I have some argument lah about the trademarks, copyright kan. So I think you know NFT, Doctor.
Yes. Okay. New. Yeah.
Non-fungible tokens. So we know NFT.
Yeah.
We provide a platform using cryptocurrencies to trade like arts, like documents, songs, even selfie yang baru ni viral kan. There's an Indonesian person
Yeah.
managed to sell the selfie for millions.
Yeah.
So those all tak ada pun copyright ke trademark ke tak ada. So was traded by monetary value. So I would say that macam trademark copyrights ni somehow will become unrelevant sometime in future. What's your opinion on that?
That's a good. Actually, again, Shafiq, I was thinking of that boy juga yang Indonesia tu. Saya pun terfikir juga, why not? Mana tahu someone nak buy my selfie kan? Yeah, there's a interesting point juga because of this copyright. Itulah. I mean, I'm not sure because you see, let's go back to the case in Shah Alam Android box tu kan. Android box. I am sure all of you agree with me that most kedai tom yum that you go, can you watch free Astro kan? Yang they have the Android box ke macam mana kan? And then I'm sure kalau you go online on FB, you can find companies which are selling those kind of products. But they are not caught just yet. Others have been, and only one lah. So like what Sheikh Shafiq said, yes, it could be true in future copyright and trademark will be something of not relevant, but I am sure somehow the law will be changed in order to what is it, to be relevant lah, to be relevant with all this. That means although now it cannot be relevant because of all this, but I'm sure nanti somebody will change because I mean somebody wants to make something as well lah. So although now we might say that it's not relevant just yet, but mana tahu in future somebody might change something and say that I want to, you're using my picture, I want something as well. um, Budak yang guna tu kan, budak Indonesia tu, he's making money, he's selling his own face and making millions kan. I think he made quite a bit kan. So sooner or later, it could be, now it could be not relevant lah because people are still new at it. Or it could be, Shafiq, kalau kita balik pada beberapa slide yang sebelum ni, they want to be dominant. Okay, so they allow you to use it first, and then anyone who wants to maybe orang kata build on it, is go ahead. So anyone will actually use, everyone has to use you. It could be that way pun. So I'm not sure how to answer your question, tapi I think the best possible answer would be, although it might not be relevant now or in future, tapi I bet there will be some sort of law to curb this problem juga eventually lah.
Okay, Doctor. Just my point, I'm not seeking for answer lah because it's still new kan. I understand lah from your standpoint of view. Cuma from I think recent news juga, Malaysia dah declare macam 800 bilion ringgit cukai yang tak terkutip daripada pasaran digital ni lah. So yeah, I believe in future, somewhere near future pun diorang akan start taxation, copyright, patenting semua ni kan.
Yes, correct.
Okay, Doctor. Just to point out some things lah, some new things about the patents lah.
Yeah, true. Thank you for bringing up that. And I'm still reading on that Indonesian boy juga. Macam, how did he come up with an idea like this? Macam, and ada orang beli. I actually went to the website to see his face and what did he do actually. Interesting juga lah. I might, sebab I might do something juga lah. I was thinking, why not kan, dapat sikit-sikit pun boleh lah kan. Maybe I'll just go, since I'm in Penang today, I'll go and get some nasi kandar punya picture kan, tampal kat.
Betul. Boleh kutip duit tu daripada gambar-gambar tu.
I amazed because nak cakap, when I went to his page tu, I tengok, nak cakap handsome tak ada pun. It doesn't, but why? But why? Itu yang I'm thinking. Anyway, that's a good question and a good need. All right, discussion. Okay, let's go on to trade secrets. I think, trade secrets are something that belong to business that is generally unknown to others. Okay, this happens for employees in a company lah kan, when they have been a long time there, and then diorang dah ada banyak client, especially kalau you are doing trading lah, stock trading ke apa kan. So you ada banyak client, and then tiba-tiba you jump to another client pula, jump to another trading company. So your trade secret is also brought together with you. Again, these things are all it's all based on you. So you have to be able to save it, protect your copyright of your trade secret. Okay, let's look at other points here. The effectiveness and use of protection mechanism. For this slide, we are talking about the example of pharmaceutical patents. Okay, how they make medicine and how they protect it. Okay, so these are some issues, and we are also looking at how IBM looked at proprietary its products. As you know, IBM uh, it was always the first one to start selling off their PCs, and yep, when they sold off, they made sure that their BIOS program was always built in. Okay, so although they kept their price low, but they always made sure that their BIOS, basic input output system program, was always inside, so they were dominant in that sense. So again, until today, IBM, even though yes, there's so many types of computers these days, but every basic computer follows the same system as the dominant BIOS created by IBM as well. Okay. Next, yep, there's nothing much here. All right, nothing much. Others are all just talking about protection mechanism. Okay, so what have we learned so far before we stop for a break? Okay, so we have identified or we have understood patents, trademarks. Okay, so what I'll be asking you in your exam is sometimes not not the meaning of these words. I mean, I'm sure you can know this word: patent, trademark, copyright. Okay, these are if you read it once or twice, I'm sure you get it. But what the question would be, how much do you need to do it? Okay, in your organization, your company, as the manager of the transformation unit, you have to decide what copyright are you going to do. Are you going to do copyright? Because sometimes copyright, trademark takes time. Okay, is it worth to do a copyright, or is your company getting the same product from someone else? And so you have to look at that as well, so that your company does not get sued, kan? So that's also an issue as well. So again, in innovation, you have to understand that once an innovation is new, novel, then you have to get it patent, and you have to make sure that you get some sort of rental as well out of it. Okay, all right. So let's stop for about 10 minutes. We'll start back at 325. Okay, we'll start back at 325 with the next chapter, chapter 10 after this. All right. So I will see you back at 325.
Okay.
Okay. So in the previous chapter, chapter 9, we have talked about copyright, patent, why is it important, what should we do, and basically we need to understand why we need to do a patent as to get some rental out of it. And there's also a term which is called patent trolling, which is actually not so good, whereby you don't do patents, but if anyone uses your ideas, uses your image, then you start putting up a case and so on and so forth. Okay, because if you were to read some of the patent cases, is simply what they say is contohnya macam, let's say I read one case. They say two designers designed Hari Malaysia logo for a company. So the argument was the company paid them well, and the design belongs to them. Okay, for maybe they wanted to do a banner, but once the company went to do, let's say it produced a calendar and so on and so forth, so that's against the copyright punya policy. Okay, even though yes, the company holds the copyright for that particular image, but the creator of the image says, I only agreed to give the copyright based on the banner je. Tapi sekarang ni orang tu buat pula back. Okay, that is not part of the agreement. The agreement says only this. Okay, so that is something we also need to look into. If we start doing innovation, we also need to understand how much of copyright are we giving, or how much of copyright are we applying for. Okay, if we go into now, we go into chapter 10. Okay, so chapter 10 talks about how we are going to organize our innovation. Okay, how are we going to organize our innovation? Okay, so when you say innovation, it means something new, something which which has not been taught or anyone else. So there is a need to actually look in how to start, or how to where to draw the line of an innovation and not innovation. All right. So in Google, they started giving every of their personnel 20% of their time to work on something which is not their job. So to come up with their own innovation. And if this innovation is good, they will actually buy it over and produce it in a bigger scale. All right. So the question arises here is, what are some of the advantage of being creative side of Google being run as a flexible and flat technocracy? Okay, so the argument here that we need to understand is, are we going to do an innovation for the company as a whole, or are we going to do an innovation or create an innovation for each sub companies or subdivisions? So there are two things here we have to understand. Are we going to look at are we going to look at the whole firm, the big firm for about, let's say, 1,000 units, or are we going to look at the small part of it? Okay, so the point here is, the firm size and structure will impact the rate and likelihood of innovation. Some structures might foster creativity and experimentation. Others may enhance efficiency and coherence across the firm development activities. So what it means is, if the firm is either big or small, that may sometimes create innovation or experimentation. But sometimes it may also enhance the efficiency. Enhance the efficiency means you have the innovation, you just go on doing it better. Meaning, you do not come up with anything new, but you do it better. Okay, it's like, I mean, in a simple form, you ada 2 tayar, sekarang you tambah 4 tayar. Okay, you ada 2 tayar, you tambah 4 tayar. Okay, can you just give me one moment? There's a phone call. Sekejap, eh? One moment. Sorry, eh? Okay, so as I was mentioning this now, so your firm's or organization's size and structure also plays an impact. Meaning, if some companies are big, some departments are big, it may foster creativity, or some may enhance efficiency. Enhance means you have the innovation in place, but you enhance it. Daripada 4 tayar, you tambah lagi 2 tayar. You just enhance it. Okay? But sometimes you get creative. That means you don't have something, then you do something. That's being creative, and you experiment on that. Okay? Let's say, for example, um, you, you have in your department, your company, you still use the punch card system. Okay, so you come up with a new system, new online system. So that's innovation. That's considered innovation. But enhanced efficiency meaning, yes, you have the punch card system, but now you don't put the punch card system in one place. You put it in multiple places across the department. So people can come in from any part of the building and still use the punch card system. They don't need to go to the what you say, uh, the center point of the building. Okay, so that means enhanced efficiency. So the two most important points that we need to understand is the size and structure important. So from which size and which structure we can get the best out of the innovation. Okay, so the question next we go is bigger better? Okay, so large firms will be more effective innovators, able to obtain financial. That means the bigger your company, the better you can do innovation, because you are able to spend more, and because your company might get better, what you say, financing from other companies, from the government, or so on and so forth. So this Joseph Scumpeter said that the bigger the company, the better, because you have much more money and so on and so forth. But as time goes by, his idea, well, they seem to be a flaw, because there might also be disadvantage. Okay, one of the disadvantages, R&D efficiency might decrease due to loss in managerial control. Large firms have much more bureaucratic, more strategic commitments tie them to the current technology. Okay, for example, if we look at the recent development of RFID and smart tech and all those issues, okay, the innovation here is very simple. It's just to use RFID. And if you were to read on RFID, it's not a technology that it's not something new. In Malaysia it might be new, but it's not something wow. It's just a normal RFID. Okay, but because, and if we were to read back, why did Malaysia only start using RFID for their highway only in the year 2022? One of the main reasons is not because we are left out in technology. No, we are not left out in technology. We are at that level, but because we have so many bureaucracies, among which is one thing you can see is each concession provider of each highway is different. Each of them use different systems. That is why RFID started only in KL first, because there are so many companies. There's Guthrie Highway, New Pantai Expressway Highway, and then there is Lekas Kesas. That's only in KL. I'm talking about if you come to this side, and then there's so many. Okay, so each of them would use a different technology, a different process. So that's where also bureaucracy happens. So that's why it takes so long to come to this. You know, to use RFID in the year 2022. All right. So because that's so big. All right. So now, yes, in the olden days, big is better, but now they are saying that small firms are considered much more flexible and much more entrepreneurial, because they are small, so they can innovate faster, and they are able to they are able to convince the government or any other agencies who are giving money to allow them to be more creative. So smaller now, in previously in the year 1940, bigger firms are better. Now, in the year 2022, 60, 70, 80 years later, we say that small firms are better. So as you can see here, what was true in the past need not be true in the future. Dulu dia kata bigger is better. Now smaller is better because smaller firms can innovate faster and they are flexible. If this doesn't work, they can go back to this, and they're very more entrepreneurial, and there's no bureaucracy because there's only what here I'm giving you a local bakery of 10 outlets. 10 people. So if they want to change a new system, they want to do QR code or anything, there's only 10 of them. So it's easily replicatable. Okay, they can easily teach their staff and so on and so forth. Okay, so many big firms have found ways of feeling small. So what does it mean? So if we go back to 1940, they say big is better. In 2022, small is better. So how is the big firms going to adapt of this? So what the big firm is doing now is feeling small. So what do? They break down their division into smaller sub-units. So when you have smaller sub-units, you are able to innovate your sub-units in a much more faster way. That means each sub-unit works on it, applies on it, and develops on it. Okay? So they break down. Example, an independent entity, but it must be report directly to the headquarters of the organization about the status of its operation. It operates independently and is focused on a target market. So one department, okay, it's already independent, but it's actually part of the organization. But they're independent by itself. Okay, their own independent. That means they are not related. They are related to the company, but actually they're working on a different segment of market, a different target market. Although they are independent, it's like even I think UTP can be considered part of this. Yes, independent entity, tapi they report to HQ as well, report to organization, but they operate independently. They have their own human resource, they have their own bendahari, they have their own R&D, they have everything independently. Petronas Dagangan, they have everything independently, but they will report to the HQ as well. Okay, so any innovation can start from this. It does not need to go through the top. Maybe yes, they have to inform the organization, but in terms of budget or in terms of anything which is important, they can just do it within this subunit. Okay, so there are certain examples of how, if you, based on history, if you do not adapt with current situation. Example is Xerox. Xerox is a copying machine, and they use this paradox called the Icarus paradox. Icarus is a type of bird. It's a type of bird during the Greek. It's a myth lah. Dia kata bird ni, it's so big and it can fly very fast, and it's it's a pretty bird, and it can fly very far and high up to the sky. So one day this bird kept flying higher and higher, and he reached the point that it was very close to the sun, but it was so high up that it did not know that the sun actually melted the wings and the bird fell down and crashed. So similarly to Xerox, Xerox was a copying machine in the year 60s, 70s, and was really doing well, that it did not pay any attention to any Japanese competitor, thus making this this Xerox machine losing market, and eventually they couldn't do it because other companies came out and did much better. Okay, other companies like Tesco. Okay, we are talking about Tesco in US. Tesco couldn't make it in US because people were not interested. People they misjudged their habits in US. People in US, although yes, they like to go shopping, but they do it only once a week. Okay, so that's also a big issue. Okay, that's also a big issue that that Tesco was facing. Just hold on for a while. Okay, let's go back. Okay, so Tesco later did not expect the online grocery shopping. So again, it lost in US. Okay, so Tesco does well in UK, Malaysia. But Malaysia has already off lah. Tapi tak apa. But Tesco is doing well. But again, it's a failure juga. They did not expect. So Tesco thought, yeah, they're doing well in UK, but they did not expect the spending behavior in other companies in other countries. So again, you have to look at certain things when you think that you might be doing well in certain organization, certain place, but similarly, you cannot apply the same thing in a different state, in a different place as well. Another popular product which was in Malaysia once was Laura Ashley. Okay, they promoted British values. That was their product. Okay, Laura Ashley promoted British values products, but that was in the 60s, 70s, and probably early 80s. But again, these were old products. So by end of 90s, it was not meant for the latest trend. So this company closed down as well. So what I'm trying to say is these are modern days failures because these companies did not innovate their products, did not look at the smaller pictures. They only looked at the bigger pictures. The bigger pictures was because they were great already. They did not look at smaller pictures because sometimes the smaller pictures which actually will actually feed you right up to the top. All right. So how does the big companies feel small? So they go down by two dimensions. They restructure their dimensions through two forms. One is using formalization and one is using standardization. What does this mean? It means that even though the companies have been broken down into smaller divisions, but they would keep the same values. Values, okay? So in terms of this, we are talking about two dimensions, which is similar, formalization and standardization. The degree to which the firm utilizes rules and procedures to structure the behavior of the employees. Example, McDonald's has famously used bureaucratic structure where employee jobs are highly formalized with clear line of communication and specific job description. That means each Domino's, each McDonald's that you go, you get the same thing. That means all the workers would do the same thing, would do the same formal work, would do the same frying, take your order, process the order, and deliver. But what is different between the McDonald's is, if you take in a different like Malaysia and other countries, is the products that they sell. That can be different. Here you have, let's say, in Malaysia you have nasi lemak. The same thing in America, you don't have nasi lemak. Okay, that product that is different. But in terms of formalization, it's the same. That means everyone does the same thing. Okay. Standardization means a degree to which activities are performed in a uniform manner. Coca-Cola uses global standardization in marketing by keeping the appearance of the product relatively unchanged between different markets. Okay, so Coca-Cola that means the standard. That means the bottle is standard, but the bottle is standard, but maybe the logo is also standard, but maybe the type of drinks might be different. Okay, but relatively standard form. Okay, so formalization, and these are how the big companies will keep their dimensions same. Next, we will also have centralization, the degree to which decision-making authority is kept at the top level, or the degree to which activities are performed at central location. Meaning, Apple is an example of business which centralized management structure. Decision-making responsibility lies of CEO. Everyone is able to do anything, but final decision comes from CEO. Centralization. Tapi you can work independently. You can work in your division, you can work in your unit, but in terms of final decision, final decision or final argument or final say comes from the CEO as well. So this is how centralized R&D looks like, or decentralized. That means centralized, everything is in the center. Decentralized, you have it. sorry, you have it in each unit here. Okay, all right. So yeah, yeah. Okay, this is good. Loosely coupled organization. Haha. I use the word example. Semalam mana tadi buat ni? Example nasi kandar ni. Okay, so what does loosely coupled organization structure mean? Loosely coupled organization structure means that even though it's formalized, standard, or centralized, it does not follow this. That means they keep it, although the standard is the same and it could be centralized, but it's very loose. That means that if the subunit would like to change something according to its area, its unit, then it can go. Local nasi kandar shops opens in a new location in a nearby town, but does not apply the rules for how to make each of its curry. The organization becomes loosely coupled. That means they say, okay, the same nasi kandar shop from Penang is open in KL, fine, but they do not say how much of curry they use or how do you make the curry. As long as it's chicken curry, as long as the color is the same, it's fine. But because they are selling the nasi kandar based on their logo, okay, so that is loosely coupled organization. So loosely coupled organization is some sort like, yes, you have to be standard and you have to be standard with the main company, but it does not matter how you do it as long as the standard is met or the standard is kept. All right. So that is all for chapter 10 today. Yeah, this is quite simple, straightforward. Yeah. Okay, do you have any questions so far to ask me? What chapter 10? Jangan tanya pasal nasi kandar pula. Okay. Okay. So what you need to understand is, it's quite interesting this chapter ni. Sebab kalau you go on the first few slides, dia kata bigger is better. Lagi besar company tu lagi better because it has much more money, dia boleh buat R&D better. But as they go along in 90s, they go along, smaller is better because smaller companies have bigger ideas and they can change easily. Bigger companies nak change macam mana? Because they're so big. You know, they have to change, they have to revamp the whole technology, they have to revamp the whole system. Just imagine kalau Aeon, dia nak buat satu sistem baru, they have to it's a whole assembly process. If you look at how Tesco online operates and how Aeon pun ada dia punya online service. Yes, they have it. And Tesco, I think Tesco is doing well because they have everything. They have from the lorry, you can buy online and they can deliver. They have the dates more all set up. Aeon cannot because Aeon is not targeting that. So Aeon ada baju lah, the supermarket and so on and so forth. So it's difficult for them to just jump in to online just yet. Yes, eventually they will do it, but it's a bit difficult because they are, although they are not as big as Tesco, but it's difficult for them to structure it because they are in the big location. They are a big organization. So what needs to be understood in this chapter is bigger is not actually better, smaller is better, as long as they fulfill three dimensions, which is standardization, normalization, and centralization. These are very important things that the company needs to look into. All right, that's all for today. Thank you so much for today's lecture. Just a small announcement and repeat. Next Saturday kita akan buat test on the 29th of January 2:30, and then on Sunday we are going to do the group presentation case study assignment group 2 number 2. I will email you the assignments now, the titles semua now, and dia dalam kategori assignment number 2. Okay. Report untuk assignment number 2 ini is due on 6th of February. Okay. But tomorrow or today, I also will email you group assignment number 1. Group assignment number 1, no need to present, kena submit report. Report submission for group assignment number 1 is on 5 hari bulan 2. Sehari sebelum 6 hari bulan 2 lah. Okay. But I give you leeway if you are not able to submit the group assignment on the specific date, please let me know. We can work out a new date. Okay. Tak semestinya perlu sama lah group 1, group 2. Tetapi yang perlu sama with group 1, group 2 is your presentation date and your final exam. That one, kita tak boleh nak kompromi lah. It has to be all the same. Okay. In terms of report submission, I can give leeway lah. Boleh kita boleh ni. Ataupun there's a new saying. Apa tu? Benda boleh gaduh, kenapa dibincang? Bukan orang kata benda boleh bincang, kenapa gaduh? Ini sekarang ni dia terbalik. Benda boleh gaduh, kenapa tak bincang? Okay? But yang tak boleh kompromi, test kita dengan presentation next week, tak boleh buat apa. We have to do it on that day. Okay? Yang report submission, I give you ni lah. Saya bagi leeway. Kalau you ada, if you can submit on the day, go ahead. Kalau tak boleh, let me know earlier so that we can see how what we can do. Okay? So group number 1, secara group number 1 kita bagi kepada pasukan wanita. So nanti bila dalam assignment tu, group number 1 pasukan wanita and group number 2 is pasukan kumbang. Okay? So kumbang and wanita akan itulah group dia. Okay?
Okay, Doktor.
Oh, banyak sangat makan nasi ganda, batuk kita. Okay, thank you so much for attending this class. You have any questions to ask me? Cik Arif, Cik Amin, Cik Syafiq? Okay, semua okay?
Okay, Doktor.
Okay, Doktor.
Alright, thank you so much for attending today's class. InsyaAllah, I'll see you tomorrow at 9:30, 9:30.
Okay, Doktor.
Alright, tomorrow 9:30, we'll see you each other. Okay, thank you so much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam.
Waalaikumsalam.
Terima kasih, Doktor.